Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Miguel.
Morning.
So we are about to start. Just checking if people join the team meeting. Yes, they are. Okay. So welcome everybody for this second day of Concordia Open Door. So I'm very happy to start today's meeting with this keynote with Miguel González-Sancho. Miguel is head of the unit Cybersecurity Technology and Capacity Building at the European Commission, where he's worked for more than 20 years. His main focus area are European policy and research development and innovation programs related to digital technology indeed. He's currently acting as a director for the European Cybersecurity Competence Centre. I just read, Miguel, like on social media that you had the meeting yesterday, another governing board meeting with the member states representative and the NISA. So it's really an honor for us to have you here this morning, and I cannot wait to hear from you about this first step of the center. So, Miguel, the floor is yours.
Okay, good morning, Anthony. Good morning, all. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good morning to all those listening. I've been asked to report about the status on the establishment of the Cybersecurity Competence Centre, which I will gladly do in the next minutes. First, I would like to start by recalling, for those that would be less familiar, why this Cybersecurity Competence Centre, which is a new EU body, has been created. So the purpose of the initiative is to increase the cybersecurity capabilities in the EU. So it's about resilience, it's about cyber resilience, it's about market opportunities and so. So it's we're here in the capabilities type of anticipation aspect of cybersecurity rather than on the reaction side, if you see what I mean. I would say the main missions, the main purpose for me is to define, to have a common definition, let's say, of strategic priorities in terms of cybersecurity investment. And then to pool resources from various corners to put to deliver those priorities, addressing the whole value cycle of investment, if you like, from research, more basic research, up to deployment and uptake. And the various resources would be EU funding programs, member states, private sector, and then to improve, to execute those investment priorities in the area of cybersecurity. Another important mission function is to improve coordination with cybersecurity across Europe in terms of cybersecurity expertise across Europe. And of course, this is part of a bigger effort of the European Union in terms of policy for cybersecurity, with other strands of activity, if you like, around also improving capabilities, but also capacity to react. And so there's other things that are there ongoing, pipeline, the revision of the NIS directive, the joint cyber unit, and work on certification. Recent announcements that have been made by the President of the Commission. So this is only normal because the cybersecurity as a political priority is only increasing in importance as in parallel to the increase in the level of the cyber threat. So Cyber Center part of a broader effort on cybersecurity policy. A bit of history. The Commission made the proposal for a Cybersecurity Competence Center back in September 2018. There's been more than 2 years of negotiation until the final political agreement in December 2020, and the regulation for the Cybersecurity Competence Centre entered into force at the end of in June 2021. In parallel, there's been efforts to kind of prepare the ground, as it were, for this new landscape. In particular, with the launch of the 4 pilots of, as we call them, H2020 Cyber Competence Pilots, and CONCORDIA, of course, being one of them, and also, discussions with the broader community, also with ECCO, European Cybersecurity Organization. So this is, as I said, to prepare a bit the ground for the future, where there will be a more structured approach to cyber security, let's say, investment and expertise and so. So where we stand. So I get to the purpose of my core of my talk today. Where we stand with setting up the center. So indeed, as Tony just said, this week there's a lot happening around the center. So the business is really picking up. We had on Tuesday, we had a communication adopted by the Commission on national coordination centers and the capacity of these national coordination centers to manage EU funding. I will mention that a bit later. And indeed, as said, we had yesterday the first official meeting of the governing board of the Competence Centre. That I recall, there are 29 members sitting, so 1 per each member state, plus 2 members of the Commission, and or 30 rather, ENISA as a permanent observer. The situation is that the Commission runs the center, let's say, until the center will have the capacity to run itself, basically. So that's what we're doing now in practice. But then, as I said, the business has started, and the center will start hopefully soon, started to acquire its own capacity. But the driver of the center, the head of the center, is the governing board, of course, and that has already started to function. As I said yesterday, the first official meeting, after all member states have appointed officially their representatives, and the Commission as well has appointed its 2 representatives. And yesterday, well, there were some first decisions that were adopted by the center. Understandably, those are more administrative decisions, which are necessary in order for every new EU body to start taking all the decisions, to start functioning. So typically the rules of procedure, and so they were already adopted yesterday. But there was some start of a discussion also on issues of more substance, like the strategic agenda of the center, the single programming documents, or the work program of the center as well, and other issues. So as I said, business had started. Then there's some kind of important, it is necessary to have a director for the center, and as Antonio also said, so the Commission has appointed an interim director. That is myself, but we have started already. We've launched we've opened the call for candidates to become the permanent executive director of the center, and actually the call has been closed, and now the Commission will start assessing the applications for eventually to submit a shortlist to the governing board that will next year sometime select the director. And then we also expect soon, perhaps rather beginning of the year, to start with some initial recruitments of staff for the center. And also, of course, something very important is the discussions between the executive director, interim executive director, on behalf of the governing board and the Romanian authorities about the hosting agreement with Romania, because the center is to be based in Bucharest. So conditions, practicalities, let's say, about building conditions for staff and so forth. That's also something that will start very soon, after the governing board has agreed yesterday to entrust the interim director with executive director with the power to engage in discussions with the Romanian authorities. That's a lot of administration, as I said in the beginning, the first months. setting up a new body, it will be very, very important to have the right rules in place in order to be able to operate. But then there's also substance that is also in the picture. The agenda, the strategic agenda for the center. That's something that the Cybersecurity Competence Centre regulation foresees, that the center will establish such a strategic agenda to precisely indicate what are the priorities in terms of cyber investments, and basically what are the needs in the area of cybersecurity. So that is something on which we had a very preliminary exchange yesterday, and actually from the Commission side, we've started working with that already with the 4 pilots, with ENISA, with EXO, to kind of gather what are the priorities on cybersecurity, so that that feedback can be submitted for the center for them to adopt their agenda that will then lead into more specific programming decisions. That's the strategic agenda. Then the center also discussed yesterday. It's a very first draft of what we call the strategic programming document, which is basically the work program for the center for the next. Actually, it's a pluriannual, so 21-23, and then with focusing on more on 21, even though the year is close to an end. So first discussions and definition of objectives, and particular 4 objectives to establish the center itself, of course, to also implement DEP, the Digital Euro program. I will talk in a minute about it. The strategic agenda, number 3, that I mentioned before, to start defining it, and also the national coordination centers and the community, to establish the network of national coordination centers and to start working with the community. So those are 4 important objectives, in terms of basically 21, but also going on 22. The European Commission has drafted work programs for cybersecurity investment under the Horizon Europe program and the Digital Euro program, because the center was not yet there and it's not autonomous. So for 2021-22, the programs have been defined, let's say, in the traditional way, with a proposal from the Commission, then consulting member states in the program committee, and then finally adoption by the Commission. For Horizon, as many of you know, the work program has already been adopted for 21-22. Actually, there was a call for cybersecurity. There is a call for cybersecurity proposals that is closing today, and I guess some of the people listening probably have put forward proposals, and the evaluation will be coming up soon. Again, until the center can be, operational for that matter, and it is not yet the case, it will be the Commission that will ensure the practical work, for instance, in terms of conducting, organizing evaluations. And then the Digital Euro program, which is not yet adopted, it will be adopted soon, expected in the month of November, and it contains an important chapter on cybersecurity. And as soon as this Digital Euro program will be adopted, then the Competence Centre will be able to adopt its own work program, because it is the Digital Euro program that funds the center. And then we can expect calls under the Digital Euro program, calls on cybersecurity next year to come up. That is for the Cybersecurity Competence Centre, but the story doesn't end there. The proposal that the Commission made and the regulation that was entered into force last year, it's about a cybersecurity center, yes, but then a network of national coordination centers, and then a cyber community. So the overall the 3 components are important. So what I've been talking a lot about the center itself, and it starts to operate, governing board, taking first administrative decisions, starting to discuss, let's say, strategy, and then now turning to the national coordination centers. The member states have until the end of this year to come up with their proposed national coordination center, each 1 per member state. The National Coordination Center has different functions, but in particular, very important to kind of coordinate the national, the community, cyber community at national level, And then they have the national coordination centers also a role regarding EU funding. So until the end of the year, for member states to come up with their proposed national coordination centers, NCCs, then those proposals will be assessed by the European Commission as to their suitability, let's say, of the proposed NCCs, their capacity to manage EU funding. So there's a number of requirements, of course, when you are a beneficiary of EU funding that you have to satisfy. As I said, a second thing next to the governing board yesterday that happened this week is 2 days ago, the Commission adopted a communication on precisely the capacity, the requirements for NCCs to manage EU funding. And that is something that then each NCC can look at now in order to submit then afterwards to the Commission. It's the required, let's say, information for the Commission to assess if the NCC is indeed meeting the requirement for managing EU funding. The NCCs are much more than about getting support for EU funding. Actually, the EU funding story is that the DEP, Digital Europe work program, will foresees support, financial support for the national coordination centers. And then down the line, the NCCs, they will be potentially be able to manage and pass over EU funding to beneficiaries in each member state. So, but it's the NCC is much more than receiving support, from the EU. It's received support to do what? Well, to animate within the community, to play that driving role of the cyber community at national level. And for that, there's many things that an NCC could do. The regulation is of the competence center defines a series of tasks. But of course, each member state might also come with a bit of its own approach and flavor. And for that, we are from the Commission. We're having, several meetings, and we will have another one soon with the member states in order to set up the network of NCCs, to define, to reply to questions, to compare notes, how the different member states are going about it, what is the catalog of services that they are proposing, etc. So that's another strand of activity that we are pursuing, and things are going, all member states are active, preparing basically their NCCs. Then, the third strand is the community, cyber community, which I would say logically, sequentially, it comes at the end in that you first need to have a center and NCCs, and then those are the ones who the NCCs that will organize the community. But nevertheless, we have, from the Commission, we have been doing work on it already together with the pilots and with ENISA and with EXO already. We've been, I would say that the 4 pilots, they have the important mission of identifying the, working, they have their own research to do, let's say, on cybersecurity. But also in themselves, the fact that these 4 big pilots, they come up with they have so many partners. It's a pre-run of a test in anticipation of that's a way I've always seen it, at least of the community. So it's an embryo of the community. So we've been kind of practicing that for some time by now, since the start of the pilot. So it's quite some time by now. And actually, the pilots themselves, and then we kind of stimulate the cooperation across pilots, and then also with others like EXO and ENISA and the Joint Research Center. So that's something that we've been doing, but of course now it needs to translate also to a certain extent into something of a more structured, approach. So that's it, the 3 strands, competence center, NCCs, and community. As I said in conclusion, well, things are already in motion. It will take time. It will take time because setting up a new body and a whole kind of conceptual structure is something that takes time. But we already have some, let's say, some initial results. First of all, we have around the same table all member states and the Commission, and to discuss cybersecurity priorities for investment. And that's already something. You know, it was not so easy for member states to identify the right persons that could speak for each member state. Discussions have started, decisions start to be taken, and discussions have also started in the governing board about even more strategic issues. The ECCCs are certainly, you know, in preparation. They are coming up, and also the link to the community is started to be discussed. The DEP the DEP Digital Europe program, the part on cybersecurity has already been, you know, prepared. Member states by now they've also given their opinion, so it's almost there. It's almost adopted. So we are in business, as I said before, early days, but you know, I have this feeling that we're gathering speed now with this. As I said, it is necessary to indeed gather speed because there's a pressing need for doing more cybersecurity from a, you know, let's say European level, coordinated level, because as everybody knows, I mean, the challenge, cybersecurity challenge is just, you know, enormous and increasing by the day. I said it before, this is part of a bigger effort, this competence center and ACCs and so, of a bigger policy coordinated effort from the Commission and from the member states and also from the Parliament, which is very increasingly active on these cyber issues. So from the EU as a whole to have a better kind of a better tool set of tools, if you like, to address cybersecurity challenges. So legislative tools, investments, coordination, and so forth. So and this cybersecurity competence center is part of this overall effort on cybersecurity. It is almost 11. I think it's the right time for me to stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Miguel. Just checking if we have some question. Actually, there is just one asking how will be the strategic advisory group be created?
That's a very good question. Indeed, the strategic advisory group, that's something that should be coming up. You know, it's foreseen in the regulation. We had a very first discussion yesterday at the governing board. I cannot talk about timing because we haven't decided timing. There's so many things to do, and I cannot discuss about modalities. The thing that I can recall is what the regulation says. It is that this has to be on a transparent way. That's important. This is also the representativeness is important. So there's a number of interests, let's say, that are mentioned. You know, research, academia, but also SMEs, industry, and so we want to have a broad representation, and then it's on expertise. So these won't be representatives from organizations or from member states or whatever. These 20 persons, they will be chosen on the basis of their own merits. So no timing, I cannot give that. I can only say that there will be some sort of open process that will have to be organized for that. In due time, so sometime next year, certainly.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I don't see any other questions, so I would like to thank you on behalf of the whole Concordia Consortium. Thank you very much for this very interesting keynote. And so I will give the floor now to Professor Gabi Dreo.